Peace, family. Welcome back to the Divine Illumination. I'm gonna get straight into it. For this video, I got a quick little story time for y'all. I'm not gonna go into too much detail. It's gonna be a quick story time. Then I got a few points that I want to give you. It's ultimately the reason why I'm telling you this story. So stay tuned for those. I feel like it's very important and at times we in right now. So to get into this, we're going back to 2019, right? 2019, after I left college. This actually started happening while I was still in college. But when I came home from college that year, I decided to go full-fledged on my spiritual journey. What that entailed was me stopping to consume meat. I was sungazing daily, grounding daily, meditating multiple times a day, doing a lot of shadow work, just really committing to the evolution of my soul. And by the time 2020 came around, I was in a super blissful place. It wasn't much that was bothering me. I learned to let things kind of roll off my shoulder like water on wax. I was at an all-time high. I was the happiest I've ever been in my life. Everything in my life was at an all-time high. I was peaceful as I have ever been. I was forgiving as I have ever been. I wasn't smoking, I wasn't drinking. There was no bad habits. My habits were grounding, meditating, and sungazing. Going to new parks. I was going hiking often. So like I said, everything was at an all-time high. From my happiness, my finances even, my understanding, like I said, forgiveness, everything was maxed out. I broke all my PRs, right? All my personal records for everything. So with that being said, my discernment was also at an all-time high. I was able to tell which way I should go, which way I shouldn't go, right? And during this time, my higher self gave me a message. It was to not get entangled with familiar faces, because the point of this spiritual journey is to continue to move forward, continue to grow and evolve. And as you grow, there's going to be things at the bottom that's trying to anchor you into your previous vibration. So I was told not to return to familiar faces, or be very careful if I was to do so. It was very loud and clear. It wasn't a guessing game like, is this, am I sure? It was a clear message, right? So I think it was later in 2020. Yeah, later in 2020, later that year, one of these familiar faces had presented themselves into my life again. And to be quite honest, like I said, I was seeing everything in a totally different way at this point in time. I was seeing things for what they were, not anything less than that. So this familiar face came back into my life, and immediately I could tell it was struggling. It was in a low vibration. It was unhealthy and just going through a rough patch, like we all go through a rough patch. So me being so, I just wanted to assist so bad in this situation by it being a familiar face that I had a lot of history with. So what did I do? I ignored my intuition. I ignored my higher self, and I started interacting with this familiar face quite a bit. And somebody's calling me, hold on. Yeah, I started interacting with this familiar face quite a bit, and we started to really get into a relationship. Despite what my higher self had clearly told me. And I knew it wasn't right at the time, but I was ignoring it because I felt like I was kind of in a situation to where I was strong enough to balance out the low energies, and I really wanted to help this person. So boom, we move forward, get into a relationship, and I was doing just that, what I planned to do. I was helping this person raise their frequency, showing them a bunch of different meditations, introducing them to grounding, and really a lot of meditative breath work. That was another big one. Just doing all I could to help this soul out in their evolutional journey. And everything was going good. And then about a year in, it didn't even take a year. So what happened was the low vibrational frequencies slowly started to erode and chew away at my vibration, right? Like I said, it was no smoking, there was no drinking. I was celibate at the time. So slowly the wine was introduced. I started drinking wine all of a sudden, right? Just to let y'all know, I'm gonna try to get through this, but this is like uncomfortable for me to talk about, but that is part of the reason I'm making this video as well. But anyway, I started drinking, right? And after a while, I was no longer celibate, right? Then after that, I was a person who used to smoke daily, right? And during this time, I was saying I was the happiest I've been in my life. It was over 6 months. It was about 6 or 7 month period where I was just completely sober from everything. And then, I started smoking again every day. And as I started doing all of these other activities, they slowly started to replace the activities that were assisting me in raising my vibration and evolving my spirit, evolving my soul. So as I started to dabble in these lower frequencies, I started to disconnect from my higher self. It slowed the evolutionary process down. Now, I'm not blaming anyone in this situation but myself, because I allowed this to happen to myself. And as I said earlier, my finances were at an all-time high. It slowly started to decline, because I got a new car, right? After about a year in this situation, I get in the car wreck, right? I lose that car. There's a little period of time where I was without a car for a while. Then, I kept ignoring all the signs because I was clearly being told, this is not the path that you're on. This is disrupting what you were on course to do. What you said you were going to do for yourself. What you said you wanted to do for the planet. Because this this journey was more than just myself. It wasn't just about evolving myself. I've been talking about this shift from 3D to 5D for the longest. You could check my channel since 2019. So I've been talking about this shift for the longest. And it was my goal to contribute to this shift as much as I could. So I ignore all the signs and I continue to carry this out. And as I carried this out, I slowly started to lose myself, and I started to not be, my discernment wasn't as strong after a while. I kept ignoring my higher self so much that my higher self, it's almost like it never completely stopped communicating with me, but the voice was getting quieter and quieter and quieter, right? So this started to eat away at my confidence, slow my progress down. Like I said, I got in a wreck. I'm skipping a year or two ahead, year and a half ahead. I eventually got a new truck. That truck ended up, I didn't get in a wreck, but the motor ended up going out on this truck, right? It was just like a bunch of unfortunate events. Like I was still making quite a bit of money at the time, but it was like bad investment after bad investment, right? So everything was going on a straight decline, like a straight negative slope. Small ups in the midst of this decline, but ultimately the graph was definitely declining. There's so many mosquitoes out here, y'all. But everything was just declining, right? So now I'm at a point, we're skipping ahead a couple more years. Now I'm at the point where I have separated from this familiar face that I'm talking about. And after about a year of separation from this familiar, I can't skip ahead. Hold on. My bad, y'all. I skipped ahead a little bit. A key point that I was going to mention is the more disconnected I got from myself, the quieter my higher self got, the more irritable I was. Like everything was pissing me off, man. Everything was pissing me off. It was easy. It got easy to make me angry. Cause remember when I said in 2020, it was nothing that could really get to me. I wasn't tripping about nothing, right? It was just nothing could really get to me. At this point in time, like during this relationship, I was irritable, man. Everything was pissing me off. It didn't take much. It was just like, I don't know exactly how to explain it, maybe overstimulated or just, I wasn't taking the proper amount of time out for myself. So I was just out of balance, ultimately. So then we can go back to where, okay, I've been separated from this person for about a year. So I'm finally starting to really get back into, pick up where I left off on this journey. And now, it is unfortunate that I have to go back and do it, creating more shadow work that I have to now go through, that I have to deal with, which isn't a problem. I'm here now, right? But what I'm telling you this story for is, for one, I'm gonna get into my points now. For one, first point from this story, I want you to realize that no matter how far you get on this journey, this spiritual journey we speaking of, the work is never done. You shouldn't get to a point to where you feel like, okay, I've done enough work, I'm invincible now, I could throw myself in any situation. That may be the case if you're still continuously doing the work, but if you ever cease to do the work, then you're vulnerable. It's that simple. So the work is never done. You always have to continuously sharpen your skills, sharpen your knife. You have to sharpen yourself and keep your vibration at a certain level. It's one thing to get your vibration to a certain level, but it's another thing to maintain that vibration. And to maintain that vibration, it takes work, right? It takes a lot of work. And the next thing is discernment. Discernment. And actually listening to your higher self. Do not ignore your higher self. Some people call it intuition or gut feeling, or the old folks used to tell us, go with your first mind. That's your gut instinct, right? So all these different things is alluding to one point in my eyes. It's your higher self, right? You should never ignore that voice. It's right all the time, 100% of the time. Your higher self is right. It's just our mind, our ego gets in the way and thinks it knows best, right? Or you may be afraid to do what your higher self is asking you to do. That's ego, once again, being in the way. So I want you to practice listening to your higher self. And that voice, the more you listen to this voice, the louder and louder and louder it will get. The more clear each sign will be to you, right? It won't be, you won't have to guess if you're doing something the right way or not. You will know for sure because you have a strong sense of discernment. So that's another extremely important key point. And the next thing I want to tell you is to be careful who you allow into your energetic field. Be careful, in other words, be careful who you're around, who you let in your inner circle. Because energy is contagious, right? There's no way around that. When you allow somebody into your energetic field, y'all are immediately and constantly exchanging energies back and forth. So it has to level out at some point. Especially if you're with this person multiple times a week, daily in my case, that energy has to level out. So be very careful who you allow to interact with your energy. All right. So I wanted to give you these points because the times we living in right now, like I've been saying in a few recent videos, but there's a lot of things going on the planet, and you're gonna need your discernment to be at an all-time high. There's a lot of things going on. Obviously with AI, right? It's already getting, AI has grown so much, it's already getting pretty hard to tell what's real and what's fake. We could tell a little bit right now, but the next 5 years, probably next year, very soon, we're not gonna be able to tell reality from AI content. And it's not only the AI content, we've talked about Project Bluebeam. We talked about these kind of government programs where they have lasers in the sky, and they're scheduling an event, and alien invasion events, just whatever events, whatever the case is, your discernment, you have to be able to discern, is this real or is this a hoax? Are these good energies coming in, or are they harmful? So your discernment has to be intact, and coming up here soon. So we should be working on these skills right now to prepare ourselves for what's to come in the future. And all these points we should be working on, because we're gonna need these skills coming up soon. So I'm just trying to think if I'm missing anything. I probably should have wrote some notes down, but but no, I encourage everybody to really dig in, tap into your shadow self, heal the traumas. I just did a trauma release meditation not too long ago, but I encourage you to do the same. Release traumas, not only from this life, but from your past life. And you don't have to have a clear vision of what your past life was in order for you to release these traumas. Just set the intention, right? Communicate to your higher self, the higher powers, whatever you think God is. Communicate with that source, and they will handle the rest. Just set your intentions. Intentions is a huge part of it here in this dimension. As long as you set your intentions and follow it up, follow those intentions with actions, you will be taken care of. Another thing, we're going to talk about this split for just a second. We're going to end off on this split. So like I always say, there's a split in consciousness. Recently, I just got some new information. You do with this, take this how you want it, but it makes a lot of sense to me, because I know in 2012 I had like my first awakening. Then I was awakening to just the shadow government stuff, secret societies, things like that. And then my later awakening was right before 2020 and 2019. But I'm sure y'all are familiar with CERN. If you're not, please look them up. But they have a particle accelerator where they are smashing atoms together at light speed. And what this does is create microscopic black holes. They open portals, and they're creating portals, and you know, it's crazy stuff. You should look into it. But I've heard what they did near 2012 or right before 2012 was, while they were smashing these particles together, they actually erased one of our timelines, right? Once they erased one of our timelines, we kind of split into two parallel timelines. And this is what, first of all, initiated the Mandela effect. That's where that comes from. The Mandela effect comes from this, because once we split into two timelines, everybody in these two new timelines still remembered the timeline that we were previously in. And that's why I think you remember stuff different. The Bernstein, you know, all the different Mandela effects. You can look into those. Pokemon with the black part on his tail, now he don't have it no more. The Monopoly man with the magnifying glass eye, now he never had it supposedly. Fruit Loops spelled different ways. Jiffy, peanut butter versus Jif, all these different things. But back to the shift that also started, because when we split into two, one is a negative version of this timeline, and one is a timeline, it's a more high vibrational timeline. So I'm telling you this part to tell you that whatever you focus on, whatever frequency that you focus on, that is the timeline that you will be aligning yourself with. And that's very important, because now we are in the last moments for us to truly choose what timeline we are going to be a part of. So if you have to choose if you want to focus on fear, hate, jealousy, destruction, separation, or if you want to focus on love, evolution, growth, unification, you know, these higher vibrational frequencies. So it's completely up to you to choose what timeline you're going to be a part of. And the way you choose is to take control of your thoughts. Whatever you focus on, that is the vibration, the frequency that you will align with. So this is the message that I want to give to y'all, family. I really hope this is able to help somebody, and I hope this is able to prevent someone from going down the path I did of not trusting, not listening to your higher self. Always listen to your higher self. It's always right. It's been there before, right? But anyway, that's what I had to tell y'all today. Much love. I'm out. Stay up.